You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
Why do great coaches struggle to market themselves effectively? Well, stay right there. Stay right where you are, because that is the question that we're answering in this episode. I'm going to share with you the two major hidden mistakes that coaches who are really, really good at what they do, really educated, talented coaches, are commonly making that is causing them to not get the sales that they really should be getting. Wait right there, I'm coming straight back.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and over the last 25 years in marketing and business, I've helped many brands to launch, scale, and grow, with some of them becoming multi-billion-dollar companies. I'm here to inspire you to get out of your own way and create a profitable, fulfilling business while living the lifestyle you really desire, without all the hustle. So I bring you She's the Business podcast, a unique blend of strategies, tactics, mindset, health, and spirituality, literally everything you need to be the successful leader of your dream business. Made by women, for women, this is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
Do you know, it's really curious. Something that I've noticed happening over the years that I've been in this industry, in the online business and coaching industry, is that people who are often great coaches, like really talented, really smart, insightful, and educated, can make the most terrible marketers, or they really struggle to market themselves. And it's curious, why is that? Well, I've noticed that there is two key things that they are doing without even realizing that is having a really negative impact on their ability to market, their ability to connect with their ideal client and attract them in. So in today's episode, we're going to touch on what these two mistakes are and what you can do instead, what you can do differently so that your marketing has a much greater impact and greater effect, meaning that you do actually attract the clients that you're wanting to attract. So let's get started. Right. The very first mistake that really great coaches, educated people are making is that because you are so smart, you have great insight, and you can see past the person's situation that they're in to actually what's causing the situation. Like, you not only see the problem, but you see the root cause of the problem, which is your job, right? And you're thinking, well, of course, that's what I'm meant to do. That's why I'm a great coach, because I help people to change the thing that's causing their situation. Yes. However, your ideal client is in the problem that they're in right now. They don't see the root cause. And most of the time, and obviously I'm speaking in generalized terms here because there can always be an exception to the rule. However, most of the time, your ideal client does not know the root cause. That's why they're stuck in this problem. Because if they knew the root cause and they had already sought out how to solve it, then they probably wouldn't be in the situation that they're in right now. So the fact that they're having the problem means that they're having the problem, they're there, they can't see it, they're just frustrated by what it is that they're living in right now. Now, you might think, well, but I want to attract people who want to solve it, who want to get to the bottom. They want to change their life. Yes, exactly. However, if you're speaking to them about the root cause, then you're speaking on a totally different level than what your ideal client is on. In order for you to have marketing messages that connect to your ideal client, then you've got to meet them where they're at. You've actually got to come back and meet them in the problem zone. Meet them there, speak in their language, and help them see that there is a way out. You might introduce the solution, and here's usually where the second problem starts, but I'll save that for just a moment. Let's stay here for a minute. We need to meet them where they're at, right? There is no point talking about the cause, and most great coaches who are struggling with marketing are doing exactly this. They're talking to the cause of the problem as if the client already knows the cause and it's obvious to them. Now, you are in a very different place, and it's going to take a bit of practice. I'm not saying it's easy to come back and be in the problem and speak to them in the problem zone, but that's where you need to be because that is where your client is right now. So using the words that they're using, speaking to them where they are and in that place, as opposed to speaking to them from the root cause area, is going to help you have a deeper connection. For example, you might be saying to them, well, hey, your nervous system is dysregulated and that's causing you to feel, scattered and overwhelmed. But you've already lost them. Unless they knew that already, most people don't. They're feeling scattered and overwhelmed because they are in the problem. They're thinking, oh, I'm so stressed, or I'm too disorganized and I'm struggling to get control of my life. Those people are thinking, I need a solution for stress. I need a solution for my disorganization. They may be looking for someone to help them be more organized, someone who can be a productivity expert. They might be looking for lots of things. And you're sitting there going, well, I can see the problem. It's glaringly obvious. Your nervous system's completely dysregulated. You're all over the place with your emotions and you're being very reactive. And so you're causing the stress. You're actually causing that overwhelm. And if we just fix your nervous system, then you won't feel any of that anymore. But they aren't thinking the nervous system's got anything to do with their disorganization. They're in the problem thinking, I need someone to help me be more organized. I'm a complete mess. I'm a basket case, whatever they're thinking. So they're trying to find a solution to the problem, but not to the cause. Does that make sense? There is a very, very distinct difference to someone who's seeking a solution for the cause versus someone who's seeking a solution to the problem they're in. So what do? Well, now that you know this, you know that there's a difference between the problem and the cause, then start to just map that out. Get that out of your head a bit. What does it look like? What does the problem zone actually look like? What are they thinking about it? What are they feeling about it? What are they experiencing right now? Now, this is actually some of the most important work you could do for your entire marketing strategy. It is extremely important. In fact, I have so many people come into Business Jam thinking, well, I'm going to learn how to attract clients more easily and paying clients. And, I want a really solid offer that converts. They don't realize that the first and most crucial step is this deep work on that connection with their ideal client. It's almost impossible to pitch an offer to them, to market to them, to have any messaging that lands if we're just not even talking to them in the right space to begin with, right? You could have a copywriter write all your copy and adjust all your messaging. But if you're talking to the cause and not to the problem, it's flying wide of your ideal client. They are scrolling past, they've tuned out, they're not relating to what it is that you're saying because they don't see it. They've got a totally different context on what their situation is. So what you're going to do now is meet them at the place where they're having the symptoms. We're going to talk to the symptoms because they will buy the solution to the problem that they're experiencing. Sell them what they want, deliver what they need. I know this might sound weird. It's not that you're going to hide it from them, but there's so much that they don't realize that they need, and trying to sell them on things that they don't think they need, they're not buying. They're not buying it because they don't think they need it. You can spend all day trying to convince them. It's a very long, hard, slow way to attract clients. So the much easier way is just to meet them where they are, speak to what they know, speak to what they're in, give them the solution for it. And in delivering that, you can absolutely bring in the pieces that they didn't know they needed, right? People get their minds blown all the time when they're inside Business Jam going, oh, I thought I'd done this already. I thought I'd already figured out my ideal client and my niche. And then now I realize I was so broad and unspecific that none of my messaging was working. But here they had been spending a year trying to figure out their messaging, working with a copywriter, and they didn't realize that what they needed was actually to get more specific and clear in the first place. You don't need fancy language. You actually just need to be more clear, more specific. And the process that we go through in the program was taking them to levels far deeper than they even realized were there, right? The kind of things they're like, now that I can really see my person, I actually I feel them, I can hear them, I know how to speak to them. And it comes easily. It suddenly flows. They're like, oh, now I don't actually need some of this other support that I thought I needed. They're not asking ChatGPT to tell them the answer. It's like they know it deep within. Now ChatGPT can literally just help you put these thoughts together, right? It can help you refine them. It can help you speed up the process of getting them out. But you're not relying on it to tell you, right? Because that's crazy. You're the one who deeply understands your ideal client. It's just that if you're in this place right now and you're a great coach, you know that what you do is really good and you can see it, it's probably because you've got a disconnect happening because you're simply speaking on that different level. You're like 5 steps ahead of your ideal client and they are not relating to what it is that you're saying because you have that far greater depth of understanding. So that's the first one. Once you nail this, you'll honestly see the biggest shift. I've had people come up to me, especially recently. I've got a Business Jam client. She said she spent a good year trying to figure out so many things before she joined Business Jam. She was going to events, meeting people, and no one was leaning in. No one was sort of interested in what she was doing. They were like, oh yeah, that's nice, carry on. Once she had got to this level of depth with her understanding of who it is she's speaking to and then the ability to talk to them in their problem zone, she said she was now attending events and people were coming up to her saying, hey, I've heard of you and I need to speak to you. And they were leaning in when she's telling them, this is what I do. Suddenly she said, this is like a completely different world. And she now, being where she is now, can look back and see before, wow, that was why I was finding it so hard. And she was out there doing all the actions, wondering why the marketing's not landing, thinking she's doing it wrong. She wasn't doing it wrong. She just wasn't speaking to them at their level in the place where they were so that there was a connection there. So honestly, it is the easiest thing to change if you know what you're looking for and you know what to do. So I've just given you the biggest tip I possibly could ever give you this year because it does create a tidal wave of change. It literally is your next level catapult that will take you from where you are to where you want to be. Now, the second mistake, and this is often the hidden thing preventing the sales, is that the experienced, very well-educated coach is in a place where to you, if it's you, the solution is obvious. You're like, well, obviously this is the solution to solve the problem. And so you tend to be thinking in your sales messaging and marketing that your client also knows that it's obvious and are just looking at different options that are similar. Like you're a person that offers this and they're looking for other people who offer the same thing as you and kind of comparing you. So what that means is you tend to be using your marketing messaging to speak to the features of your offer, what you provide in your service that other people don't provide, and the benefits of it. However, what's actually happening in real life, and this may blow your mind, trust me, because most people do not even realize this, your client is still steps back, 10 steps back. They're still thinking that there are other alternatives. There are other ways to solve this problem, and they don't actually know which is the best way. Yours is one. Okay, the way you solve the problem is one way. They've probably got 5, 6, 7, 8, however many other alternatives still floating around in their mind. They're trying to figure out, which way should I go here? Okay. Once they've decided on your way, then you're probably going to be the front runner. If you've been in, if you're already connected, if they've already heard of you and you've been showing up with that sort of leadership and authority, you'll be the front runner. You're probably not actually competing against your competitors. You're more competing against all these other alternatives that are totally different to what you do. So to give you an example of this, imagine that your ideal client is somebody who's wanting to lose weight. They're a woman in their 40s to 50s. So they're like, my problem is I'm carrying some extra weight, seems to be going on and not coming off. I'm frustrated. I want to solve it. I want to get rid of it. Now, if you're an expert in this area, maybe and this is an example. So I may or may not be factually correct. I'm trying to provide something I think most people will relate to. So for example, you might be a hormone expert for women in this perimenopause to menopause stage of their life. And you know that it is managing the hormones that is the most important thing. And usually everything to do with your body starts from the gut. So let's say, for example, that your method is around getting your gut really healthy, being able to manage your body and reducing stress, inflammation, all of those things so that it's functioning correctly, right? But your ideal client is like, well, they're hearing all sorts of stuff on the internet. They're hearing some people say it's about doing a certain type of workout. It's down to your exercise, and you get different people with different opinions. Some are saying you need to be doing high intensity interval training. Others are like, once you're in this age, you should be doing low intensity workouts and weight training. Maybe it's a mix of both. I don't know. I'm not the expert here. But the point is that your ideal client is hearing that. Then they're hearing about hormone replacement therapy. They're hearing about medications. Some people are doing surgery. They're like, maybe I need to do some thermal wraps or something to get rid of the cellulite, and that'll take it off. Diets like the keto diet or the low carb diet or fasting. There's like, and that was just off the top of my head. So there's probably even other things that they are potentially aware of. They're thinking, well, maybe it's just this. Maybe I'm just deficient in a certain vitamin or mineral, and I just need to replenish my body in that, and that'll work for me. And then they're hearing stories of all these different people who having success with different methods. And so they are in absolute confusion about what is going to be the right, best, fastest way for them to get to their goal. So if you're not addressing these alternatives in your marketing, then that's why they're potentially still stuck, still not choosing you, and potentially still choosing something else, because all these other ways have people selling those, right? And sometimes they might sound easier. It's like, oh, I could just try taking this. There are pills, there are smoothies, there are collagen powder. There's all sorts of things out there, right? They might be like, well, this sounds pretty easy to do. I'm going to give that a go. They might give this a go. They could give a lot of different things a go before they actually realize that none of it's working. And then maybe your option's one of the ones remaining they haven't tried yet, and then they're ready to give it a try. Well, wouldn't it be better if they decided to try your way earlier without going down these other pathways first, especially if you know that yours is like, this is the hidden gem. It's the success thing that, it works. It's just most people aren't trying it because they think that other ways are easier, right? So the only reason why that's happening is that the people who are making those decisions, they're just being thrown a whole lot of information, trusted to make the decision themselves. And, that all those alternatives are all valid in their mind. Like, well, there's people that it's worked for all of them. So how do they know which is the right one to do? How do they weight them against each other or choose, well, actually, I'm going to try this? Now, I've used an example that I'm like, well, I know we're all different and different things work for different people. So you might be sitting there saying, well, yeah, sometimes you do have to try different things to figure out what works for you. Yes. But if you are using, the point that I'm making here is that in your marketing, if the way you're selling your offer is based on what's in it, like how many sessions they get with you and the plan and the template and whatever else, like they're not even there yet. They haven't even figured out that your way might be the best way for them. So the real thing that you should be focusing on in your messaging around your offer, once you've got through the first mistake, you've met them where they are, you're talking about the problem and we're speaking at their language and on their level and we're giving them a solution to the problem they're in. The solution isn't how many sessions they get, how many templates they're getting. It's actually, right, this is the best solution because, and we actually still need to back that up. You need to almost prove it to them, remove any doubt that they might have that this other way over there is faster and easier. Because while they think those alternatives are viable, they're probably going to be trying whatever seems like the least amount of effort and the cheapest, right? So that is the hidden mistake, the big mistake that's preventing a lot of people from having the clients that they, this is the right solution for them and would be the best solution. And they're off down other tangents simply because they couldn't decide between the alternatives and they've picked something else first. So address and discredit those alternatives, in your marketing. It should be something that you're thinking all the time. What is it that my ideal client is thinking is a potential solution that she could try to resolve her problem that's actually not the right solution? So to give you an example of this, I often have people come to me thinking that they need help with doing their marketing. They're like, I need to attract more clients, therefore I've got a problem with my marketing. And so they've jumped straight to the tactical marketing, like, what am I not doing? Or how many times do I need to show up on social media? Or what's wrong with my email marketing, my website, all of these things. You've focused on that. Most people are really focused on it. And it's not until I've shown them that actually they all work and none of that matters if you haven't got really clear on your expert zone, don't know who you're speaking to, and you don't have one main person you're speaking to, and you don't have that offer that is a winning offer, that's profitable, that's that no-brainer sellout offer. If you don't have those pieces, it's completely irrelevant to be looking at your marketing activities thinking that's going to solve the problem, because it's not. You could buy the best ever marketing plan from the most ever successful funnel that's ever been had and try to implement it in your business. But if your offer sucks and you don't have a clear ideal client, it's just going to fall just as flat as anything that you're doing right now. It literally does not matter. It makes no difference. The engine that drives the success of those activities comes from what you're putting into it, the ingredients, who you're speaking to, and what it is that you're selling them, And of course, then we like to layer on that the right wording, the way that you speak to them is important, but not as a first step. You have to know who you're speaking to first and know what it is that we're talking to them about. And I know that sounds really simple, and that's why most people skip over it. They think, oh no, I need to focus on the marketing activities. Well, trust me, that many people who have come into Business Jam and who start making sales before they've even got to the module where they're mapping out their sales system. It is incredible. They're already making sales. They're already attracting the clients. Mapping out the sales system is actually turning into more of a business efficiency exercise. It's like, okay, let's now map it out so that you can put it in place, automate a lot of it so that this machine is functioning for you when you're not working. It becomes an efficiency driver, an effectiveness driver, as opposed to the thing that is going to generate client sales, because they're already getting them when they have got that clarity, when they've got a clear, compelling offer and they know who they're speaking to, they know who it's for, how to talk to them. It's already happening, even when they don't have their marketing pulled into line yet. So that is really the two biggest mistakes. And these are typically made by, as I said, coaches who are really great coaches, super educated, very insightful. They're seeing past the surface level. You're seeing to the root cause and talking to your client at the root cause, and also assuming that they know your solution is the best solution, are the two main things preventing your sales. So when you solve that, then you're going to find suddenly the gates are open and they're flooding in, because you're speaking to them where they are, you're meeting them where they are, offering the right solution, and you're actually talking about it in the way that discredits the other solutions as being as suitable, right? You're not saying that they don't work. Of course, everything can work, but maybe they're not the most effective. And your job is to show your prospects why yours is the most effective way. That's what they're buying. They want that. They're not just buying because it's the cheapest. And if you think that, then you haven't done enough work in understanding the real motivations. People will pay more for something that's more effective. They're like, well, this is going to work and it's going to end up, getting me a better result faster. They'll pay more for it because they want the result. Like, they want it. So that is where your attention should be, and how to resolve, the the unseen issues that you're having in your marketing. So I hope you've loved this episode. This is like what my absolute joy to share this, because after spending, so much of my life, 25 odd years in marketing, it's been so interesting to, eventually land in that place years ago for me now, but really understanding that it wasn't about the tactic that you're choosing. It's not about necessarily what's in the plan, but it's more, are we aligned? Are we speaking to the right people in the right place about the right thing? And it's so much more about that than what it is that you're doing. And I can show you time and time again so many examples of the evidence that proves it, because that is what matters. So let me know what stood out to you. Have you been one of these coaches who's been struggling and wondering why you're struggling to market when you are so good at what you do and you know that what you do has such a big impact? Let me know which one felt more like you. Are you the one who's talking to the root cause, or are you the one who's forgetting to discredit the alternatives? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Reach out, have a chat with me over on Instagram. I hang out there. It's me who answers the messages. It's not a bot. It's not an assistant. I am the person who looks at my own Instagram message accounts. I know, crazy days, isn't it? Super insane. But yes, it is me. So I love to hear from you. Send me a message and let me know what stood out to you most in this episode. And I'll catch you again next week. Bye.